Dedicated to the great outdoors, it's Southern Woods and Waters with Hugh McNaughton. Southern Woods and Waters is brought to you by Gander Mountain, Greenform Construction, the Burns Insurance Group, Cunningham Buick GMC, Nashville Marine, America's Motorsports. And now, here's Hugh.
All right, welcome everyone. This week's Southern Woods and Waters. I promise you it's going to be a great show for you tonight. We have with us a couple of pros, I think. At least they're better fishermen than I am, which is good for you, because they're going to talk about some different techniques that you can be using during this summertime, these hot, steamy summertime, dead wind days, and maybe come up with some great fish. Let's broaden out. And first of all, I got to introduce at the very end over here, Jeff Hill. Jeff Hill with Mad Dad Lures. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, you brought with you somebody that is constantly calling you, telling you, are you going fishing with me, Jeff Hill?
Oh, yeah.
Introduce him for us now.
This is Marty Carter here. He's on my pro staff with Mad Dad Lures, and I'm glad to have him with me.
And Marty Carter is also an FLW pro, also a touring pro.
Elite Series Pro.
Elite Series Pro.
Used to be. I'm not doing it right now.
Okay, so you're kind of taking a sabbatical for a little bit? Or?
I took about a 7-year sabbatical from the whole thing.
Now that's interesting, because people do not realize, Marty, what kind of stuff you have to go through, what you have to give up.
Well, they look at it like, oh, you're out there having you a big time.
Yeah.
You know? They don't
Confetti,
see the financial strain that's on you when you ain't got sponsors, you know. And
you don't start off with sponsors, you earn sponsors.
You earn the sponsors.
Yeah.
But you'll go, if you're going to do good, you're going to have to go and fish a week before the off limits.
Mm-hmm.
And when the off limits is over, you're going to be sitting right there ready for the 3 days of practice before the 4-day tournament starts. And people that ain't never fished a 4-day event, let alone fishing the 3 days prior to it, with $100,000 or $150,000 at the end of it, if you win it,
that's a bunch.
They don't understand the pressure that's on you.
Well, my goodness, I mean, you know, your marriage, your kids, kids going to school, you miss baseball sometimes, you miss their events, living out of a suitcase all the time, or living out of the back end of a truck or a hotel room, or...
Well, that was part of the sabbatical. I'm a U.S. Merchant Marine officer now.
Yeah.
And I hold a 200-ton master captain's license, and I've been in the Gulf of Mexico for the last 7 years on a ship as a captain.
Oh, awesome.
And, you know, as everybody knows, the oil prices went down at the first of the year, and
right.
You know, so we all sort of got pushed to the side till the oil prices come back up. So,
well,
so me and Holly, my wife Holly, we had bought a boat back in August last year, and we just picked it. I picked up right where I left off.
That's awesome.
But with a big difference, it had changed a lot. Baits are different, and the primary thing was I quit hole fishing.
Now, what do you mean by hole fishing?
Well, everybody's got their favorite hole they want to go to.
Yeah.
You know, and back in the 80s and 90s, you could do that.
Right.
You didn't have GPSs, you didn't have these mapping systems. But now, you know, there's so many anglers on the water. And they'll sit and they will watch you through binoculars.
Yes, sir.
There's a fella at Wilson that lives on the lake down there, and 90% of the time you can bet he's sitting up there watching you with a pair of binoculars when you're catching fish. So it's just unbelievable what you got to go through to find a winning string of fish and keep it quiet. You know.
So you changed your techniques then. Now, what do you think? What are you trying to do now, though, that makes it different?
Me and my stepson Charlie, we won Anglers of the Year in the Fishers of Men in the North Alabama division.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have just one place. We had multiple places, 5 to 10 places. I'd have 3 places that was holding keeper fish, plus the places where I'd caught bigger fish. But those keeper fish were the primary target. Just as quick as I figured out, that was all she wrote for the big fish.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all the teams that was there was probably 20 to 30 teams. Me and Charlie was the only anglers in that tournament trail to weigh 15 fish in the three
In
tournaments.
3 days. Yeah.
Well, in the 3 tournaments.
In the 3
you know.
tournaments. Okay. That is awesome. So, are you saying though that people need to get out there and find new water every time they go out? Try to increase.
You know, most people don't tour around the country like I did. When they blowed the trade centers up, I was 45 minutes away up the Hudson River getting ready for a tournament.
That's right.
And
Jeff had told me about that.
That was a very bad deal, not just for our the Bassmaster Elite Series, but it was just a bad deal for our country all the way around.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're way out in the middle of nowhere. You know, you don't know anybody up there, and just all of a sudden, you don't know if the country's under attack, or
You don't
know what's going on.
You don't have a TV out there, so you don't not hear anything.
Went across the line into Vermont to Lake St. Catherine, and that was the most secluded place I could find, and that's where we spent the night that next night after that happened. And
Well, I'll be. Now that's an interesting story in itself. Now this was on 9/11, and y'all were getting. It wasn't the tournament going on, was it? Or was it practice?
it was just practice.
Just practice.
But Osama bin Laden costed me $100,000.
Because you were on fish.
I was on them, right out on a little rock pile, about the size of this stand we're sitting on in the center of the river, and I'd fished 7 days and caught 1 fish till I found that rock pile.
That is awesome.
In the previous 2 tournaments, it took 15 pounds on a 3-day, over 3 days to win.
15 pounds.
And I could have weighed that in 1 day off of that rock pile.
My goodness.
So, if I ever go back to the Hudson River, I'm in business.
You're in business again. Do you like the southern lakes as opposed to the northern lakes?
The only real big difference in the southern lakes is the monster fish that you can catch here versus up there. Now, you can catch 4 to 6 pound smallmouth, but most of you largemouth are not real big up there.
3 or 4 pounders?
Yeah, I mean, you'll catch a 5 or 6 every once in a while, but most of the largemouth are small, smaller compared to what's here, because our growing season's so much longer.
Warmer water, warmer temperature. They spawn a little earlier.
They got like a 10-month growing season here,
Right.
9 to 10 months, depending on how severe weather is, and up there it's like 6 to 7 months, depending on the winter. So that makes a big difference.
Favorite lake?
Pickwick and Wilson on the Tennessee River.
Why do you love Pickwick so? I mean,
I-
that is a deep, and it's an intimidating lake.
Yeah, well, you got 85 miles of
Yeah, it's
intimidating lake. But Wilson, out of all of them, I'd rather fish Wilson Lake is any of them. That's my nickname in Muscle Shows, is Mr. Wilson. We really have a good time fishing there.
Now, what are you after on Wilson? This
Normally smallmouth and largemouth.
is it got a good spotted bass?
I don't know if you ever heard of a mean mouth or not.
Oh yeah. We've heard of them.
We had a tournament down there. It was about a month ago. Might have been five weeks ago, I think. It was a daytime tournament, and we had 5 that weighed 18 something. But anyway, they had 5 that weighed 22, and they had a 6'6" mean mouth.
Now, we're just now learning about mean mouths.
But that's the first time I'd ever seen one that big.
What do you think they are?
It's just a cross between a spot and a smallmouth. That's
okay.
what they tell me. The biologist told me, but I don't know that. That's just what he told me.
Well, here our biologists are telling us either it's got lateral lines or it doesn't, and they don't really look at a mean mouth. But now I've heard of cases where, especially on Kentucky Lake, I was in a tournament where one was disqualified because it was a mean mouth. It said it had to be a smallmouth, largemouth, or spot, and mean mouth didn't fall into that category. So they kicked the fish out, and the guy was a little bit upset. He was quite a bit upset. I mean,
I ain't never heard of that happening. I ain't never caught but one of them, and me and Holly went to Pickwick, and we was up in the back of Bear Creek. It was probably in November, and I throwed a crankbait up by the edge of the bank, and when it come off, about a 3-pounder grabbed it. And when it come up there, I first looked at it, and I thought, that's a spot. And I put it in live well, and I picked it up, and well, it's brown. The spot's not brown. And so anyway, I took a picture of it, showed it to my brother, and he said that's what it was.
That's a mean mouth.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, we've got a great show lined out for you. We hope you're enjoying it. This is one of which we're going to talk about some different lures and some different techniques that you can be using. But right now, we've got to tell you about our Facebook page. We want you to go over on our Facebook, Southern Woods and Waters, like it, view it. Tell us what you think about it. Right, you can talk to us, message us through it. We'll be glad to answer. So we'll look forward to seeing some of that. We're going to take a quick break, visit some of our fine sponsors, coming back with more of Southern Woods and Waters.